welcome everyone to our next episode of Sunday Prep. Jim, how are you doing today?
Hey, Father Matt, how are you? I'm doing well. Yeah, what's going on? What do we got? It's summer, middle of summer. This is the quiet season, right? We never, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we say almost every time whenever we kind of start these videos, what's going on, and we got this happening, and this is busy, and this is one of those very rare periods of time when things are pretty quiet. I mean, there's work being done. Don't get the impression that everyone's just sitting around in their thumbs, but there's not a lot of special events or special activities. It's a lot of kind of get caught up on paperwork season, I suppose, and planning stuff. But yeah, I don't know. This is a good time of year. It's pleasant and things are good. And how are you doing today? I know you had a full day today.
Yeah, well, our life never stops, and yeah, it is one of the days that is pretty much full. Not really much time to sit down, but you know, that's the work of priest. Jesus neither had a chance to sit down during the day. People have been coming to him back and forth for various things, as we know. And so my life doesn't really go that far from it. Still stays the same, and people do come. We have things that constantly are happening, uh, great things, and of course there are also the sad moments when we do the funerals. So it's always something happening, but it's still good. As you said, there is no special things, so no evening meetings and all these things. So it's still quiet. It's still quiet. We are enjoying it. We're using it to refresh ourselves too, not only in the body but also in spirit. We have a little bit more time to be with the Lord a little bit more too. But talking about being with the Lord, hey, that never stops, and He's calling us every day to be closer and closer to Him. And as we go through the readings, this coming Sunday, this Sunday, as we meditate upon the readings on the 19th Sunday in Ordinary Time, He is once again teaching us. Wow, wow, surprise, right? He always teaches us. He always directs us, and He wants us more and more to come. And the funny turn of the scene at this moment, because we will hear in our first reading this Sunday from the first book of Kings about Prophet Elijah journey and a little bit of I don't know, discouragement, lack of strength, um, just saying enough is enough. I think that's what sometimes even we do all say. When things are not the way we want them to be, not the way we would like them to go, and so we will hear about prophets chosen by God to go to the people. He was chosen to go and speak what God has said to him, and we will hear Prophet Elijah on the. He went on a day of journey in the desert. Hmm. You know what? I need to say, not once we have gone to the desert of our life. Nothing around. No water, no food. Nobody talking. Complete silence. Nothingness around. And so he is. That's what we will hear. He experienced, and finally, in a sunny, hot day, over 100 degrees, just kind of like New Jersey lately. Just so you can imagine how hot it was. Just put ourselves in that image. Just walk around and in 100 degrees or even more, sweating and nobody around, no shade, no nothing. Well, I just have that image in my mind. Never mind. Let's go to the reading. What did he say? This is enough, O Lord. This is enough, O Lord. I mean, I would say that. I would be like, I'm done. I like warm. I like hot weather. Don't get me wrong, but even I would be like that. But as he is experiencing it, the Lord and the Church always invites us to reflect in the readings, in the Holy Scriptures, in the spiritual aspect. And as we find ourselves in the moments, just as this one, which we can imagine, being around, being outside in the world. Yes, that's what we can see. But what do we experience? How can we translate that into our spiritual journey? And that's the moment when we'll find ourselves, nobody is around. We'll feel like not even God. And we'll say words such as the words prophet has used. But the Lord is awake, wants to awake us to something greater. And who does He send to be with us, to support us, to strengthen us? He will give us little things, one at a time, so we can recognize them. He will not throw everything on us, so then we'll be overwhelmed and we'll like lose our sight from what is important. He will give us little things one by one, and such as things as the prophet was receiving. First, he was able to sit down in the shade under a tree. Then the angel was sent to him to bring him something to strengthen himself by in the form of food. So he is the Lord, is giving the prophet more than just a word to proclaim. He is giving him all that is necessary at the moment, not everything at once, but little by little, one by one, so that he can journey, he can grow once again in strength that is necessary for him. And that's the journey our own life does have. The Lord will not give us boom everything at once, so that we'll like get lost. Who is this that has done this to me, or where am I going? What is this that I'm supposed to do? There is nowhere that my mind is able to find itself, and not even talking about the life. So this is when the Lord is bringing us once again to come in the emptiness, in the craziness, in nothingness, to come to see the little things, the graces that He bestows upon us every single day, every single moment, but to recognize it, that it's coming from Him. And so I think that's what the Lord is speaking to us all, not only in my priestly life, but He speaks that to every single one of us, so that we can come to this beautiful realization that He is the one that sustains, provides for our needs every single day, both the spiritual and in the body. So that's what I want to share with you. I'm gonna pass it on to Jim.
Yeah, this is an interesting reading, right, Father? It's the prophet Elijah is journeying for a day into the desert, which sounds, like you said, sounds pretty rough. But he has this prayer, which is probably similar to the prayer that a lot of us have prayed. Maybe not exactly this, but maybe the sentiment is probably something similar. It says, he prayed for death. He prayed for death, saying, "This is enough, O Lord," right? Hopefully we're not literally praying for death. We're not at that place of, total despair. That's a really dangerous place to be. But we've all felt a sense of like hopelessness, like overwhelming burden, like I can't take anymore. Lord, like take this away from me. Like I'm done. I'm done with whatever the thing is. We've probably all felt to varying degrees that sense of just kind of like I just don't want to do this anymore. Like I just want I want out of this situation. And it's interesting because the Lord, it's not like the Lord's unaware of Elijah's situation. He's not unaware of our situations. And I don't want to make it sound like the Lord just kind of waits for us to get to that place of utter despair. But I do think it does prompt us that before we get to that place of utter despair, that like what the Lord's really kind of moving us towards is a trust in Him. Right. So like there's an interesting detail here in the first reading that's catching me as you were talking. I'm kind of thinking a little bit here. And it starts off by saying Elijah went on a day's journey into the desert, right? So at the end of one day's travel, he's so exhausted, he's so burnt out that he's literally praying for death. Enough, Lord, just let me die. And then we have this interesting kind of encounter where like an angel wakes him up and is like, here's some food, like have a meal. And he eats, he drinks, and then the angel's like, wake up again, like eat more food, drink more, because you have work to do. There's more journeying to go. So he eats more, he drinks more, and he's strengthened. And then like the last line, kind of, this is where I think it's interesting to kind of juxtapose it. It says, he got up, ate, drank, then strengthened by that food, he walked for 40 days and 40 nights to the mountain of God, Horeb. So after 1 day's journey on his own, by his own efforts, he's so burnt out and exhausted that he collapses and just take my life now, Lord. Like, and you contrast that with like the very simple kind of food and drink that God wants to give him, that when he kind of relies on God and what God provides, he's able to journey for 40 days and 40 nights, right? And so it doesn't say that for 40 days and 40 nights, God gave him food. It just says he got up, ate and drank, and then strengthened by that food, he walked for 40 days and 40 nights. So, that seems like quite an accomplishment, So I think there's something here that's interesting, which is to say, like the very obviousness of like when we try to do things on our own, we burn out fast. Like we just do. Like I burn out fast, you do, Father, like we all do. We've all experienced it. Like the feeling of like, I'm overwhelmed. I want to give up. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, just take this away. Like, I'm done. I just want to run away. I want to turn off my phone, turn off my, turn off the lights, hide under my bed. Like, everyone leave me alone for, we've all had that feeling. And then there's like the kind of wild simplicity of like the basic needs that when we kind of lean on the Lord, trust in the Lord provides for us. And then that provisions that he gives us can sustain us, And so like, how does the Lord provide for us now? Well, we're kind of in the middle of this bread of life discourse that we're reading through in the Gospels. And, not to touch on it too much because we're going to probably talk about it in the future. So I want to kind of stick more to this reading. But if you've been paying attention the last couple of Sundays, we're in John chapter 6. We're moving through this very famous discourse on the Eucharist. And so, going back to this concept of, well, how does God provide for us and give us the sustenance? Well, it's very obvious that it's in him, it's in prayer, and it's in particularly in the sacramental realities, the Eucharist, right? And so it's in our participation of liturgy, of worship, of receiving his grace that we're able to sustain and persevere because, life is difficult. I imagine the 40 days and 40 nights that Elijah's walking probably were brutal. Like that's rough. The ancient world, the desert, you mentioned like 100-degree temperatures. Like, yeah, it's not like suddenly he got like, a sweet 4-wheel drive, like vehicle with air conditioning and like, oh, after that meal, he suddenly had like he still had to grind it out. And it was probably brutal for those 40 days and 40 nights. But he arrives at the mountain of God, where the presence of God is, right? To be where the Lord wants him to be, to kind of complete the journey prepared for him. And he does it based off of like what the Lord gives him. So again, it seems like a very basic principle that I don't think is overly like, super insightful. But I do think it's like super difficult because all of us want to be like the first part of the story, which is just to say like, oh Lord, just kill me now. I can't take anymore. I just don't want to do this anymore. And we want to run away. We want to hide. We want to just give up on everything. And, that's a difficult feeling. We've all had that. And hopefully that's not so despairing. If it is, please, talk to somebody and don't go it alone. But from the spiritual perspective, the Lord isn't necessarily asking us to do anything so extraordinary, but rather just to kind of trust in what he wants to give to us. And kind of with that simple thing that he wants to give to us, we can persevere. I heard this in a recent, I don't know if it was an interview or a podcast or something, and it was a great line, and I'm probably going to butcher it a little bit, but it was something like this. We don't have to do more to, receive God's grace. We just have to resist less. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting, right? Because we always think of it as like, oh, great, I have to go do my prayers. I got to go do the church stuff. I got to go. And it becomes like work. It becomes like laborsome. And then it becomes tiresome. And it becomes like, I don't want to do it. And it's just like something that like, I don't want to do the godly things because the godly things are hard to do. And so I'll just kind of push them off and do them later. But there's an interesting perspective that, maybe if we just simply resisted God's promptings less, then we would be more open to receiving the things he wants to give us. Again, what does Elijah get? He gets some food, some water. Like, it's not like he got a 4-wheel drive vehicle and, whatever it was, like an Uber Eats, meal coming to him. Like, it was very simple things. So, maybe there's something there to consider. It's it's a simple concept, but man, it's difficult. I know it's difficult. I struggle with it. I'm sure you do too, Father. Right? We all struggle with it. Like the simple reality of like when we do it ourselves, it's really difficult. If we do it with God, it's still really difficult, but we can do it much easier with God. Like we have that strength. So, in prayer, in the Eucharist, in the sacramental realities, that's where we're going to find the strength. So, yeah, things to think about.
Many things to think about, but as you pointed out, he gave us the tools to do that and to achieve the goal that we set ahead of us or God has prepared for us. But everything he gives, we need to work with him, not on our own. That's the first and most important thing. So I hope this will help you to open up a little bit. There is so much more in the scriptures to learn, to discern, to discover. So we hope that this will just open up the way to the greater and deeper relationship with the Lord through His Word, all that He has given through His Son to us. God bless you all. We'll see you Sunday. And of course, if you travel, be safe on those roads. God bless you all.
Bye, everyone.